We've been sitting here for an hour.
How, ab- how about now? Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the regular meeting to order and have you stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you for that. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda?
A motion?
Can I get a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, Pearl, any blue cards? No blue cards? We'll move on to item D, special presentations to the board, staff recognition 5 and 10 years. Good, we'll have everybody come out.
Are we ready? Okay, we are. Five. Start there, right? Work our way up. All right, we are here to celebrate our staff members who have 10 years of service with the district and 5 years of service with the district. We are going to start with those teachers who have 5 years of service. So when I call your name, come on up, go around the horn, and then you can come back down and sit. All right? So 5. Just scanning for a second. Okay. 5 years of service. We have James Donahue. Oh. I can't believe it's been 5 years already. That went by fast. Now I know why you said hi. Nathan Drabo. Jim. Oh, I forgot. You're going to go see Jordan, and then you're going to come back and sit. Jennifer Fellows. Mary Lou Green. Ashley Medina. Did I say it right, Ashley? Amy Reeder. I never know last names, but I know the faces and I know the first names. Grayson Shelton. All right, those staff members with 10 years of service to the district. James Chittenden. I don't believe he's here. No, he's not here. Okay. Thomas Colabufo. Where's he going? Oh, I was like, where is he going? Oh, not on me. Oh. No. Smart girl.
What do you mean?
Well done, right, I guess, yeah, but smart people. I should have waited for him to go last. I just should have, stupid. I know. All right, back. Michelle DeRuzzi. Did I get it right? My phonetics. Kimberly Havens. So formal, Kimberly. Nope, it's written Kimberly. Danielle House. Kelly Masita. And Regina Patterson. And then those staff members who could not be with us tonight, for 10 years, we have Emily Basile, James Chittenden, Patricia Feltrinelli, Teresa Hunold, Travis Knight, Tonya LaForest, Mercedes Lewis, Lisa Peterson, Donna Royer, Melanie Sheridan, Mitch Stander, and Mary Kate Walker. And for those with 5 years who could not be with us are Brian Benson, Alex Cadana, Amanda Essel, Cassandra Hansen, Tabitha Kraus, Michelle Maxwell, Sarah Van Marder, and Vizi Gowrie Vizi. Thank you to everyone for your years of service. If we could get a group picture, 5 years together, and then 10 years together, and then there are cookies and water. Help yourself, and thank you very much.
Plenty of cookies if you want to bring the individual cookies home. Help yourself. Lot of cookies. Lot of cookies.
Okay, if I could get everybody to return to their seats. We've got Maureen's next up.
Maureen Ladd.
Right there, right where I see it.
Girl, I remember when it was year one. And I was signed your name. Was there a year one?
Oh, what is that one?
I never got a year one. I never. Oh, yes, I did, yes. I saw that email. All right.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Maureen, whenever you're ready.
Floor is yours.
Floor is yours.
All right. And I was given a deadline. I got to be kind of quick, which is fine. And everybody heard all of these before, so that helps too. I wanted to start by reviewing our fiscal stress scores. These come out every year. They're done by the comptroller's office. They have a monitoring system that they've put together, which basically they're identifying issues that are supposed to indicate budgetary solvency. They do it through different expenditure reports that we submit to them. They do it for the cities, the towns, the villages, and the school districts. The system indicates scores for financial and environmental stress points. They have key drivers for fiscal stress, basically your year-end fund balances, operating deficits or surpluses, cash position, and if you have any reliance on short-term debt. The environmental indicators, which are more so out of our control, are your economically disadvantaged students, class sizes, teacher turnover rates, change in property values, our voter approval rates, and if we have ELL students. This is the how the scoring rolls, but if you're under 29.9, so under 30, you don't have a designation. And generally, most districts are under 30 right now. These are our scores over the last 5 years. We have no score. We've gone down on our fiscal score. We are hanging at 20 on our environmental score, which I was kind of surprised at with the budget going down last year. And this is the part why I like to show it to everybody. They have 669 schools in these graphs. 48 of them are considered Central New York schools, and 224 of them are considered medium upstate schools. So this gives us comparisons of Central Square over those other 3 sets of districts. So fund balance, we're generally lower than most of them. And the same with our total fund balance as a percentage of gross expenditures. Obviously, one is low, the other's low. Our operating surplus deficit, we were very tight last year coming in. Remember, it was a really tiny, so that's hence the 0.8. And cash investments to current liabilities, we're good to go on that front. The fifth indicator is the cash as a percentage of monthly expenditures. So far, we're still hanging tight at 121.5%. And so our stress score is 0. The school, general schools is 6, Central New York schools is 8.4, and medium schools is 6.2. So we really are in decent shape as far as the indicators go this year. Our environmental indicators are economically disadvantaged students. Central Square is at 49%. All schools are lower at 44.7, and Central New York and medium upstate schools are lower. So we are a little bit higher than the average. Our teacher to student ratio is a touch higher than the averages. And our turnover rate is actually a lot lower than the average, so that's a nice score there. The change in property values, this is a nice one too. Our property values have continued to increase year over year. We have a steady increase versus other areas of the country, of the state, go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. Our voter approval rating here obviously was lower this year when it didn't pass, and we don't even score in the ELL because we don't have any English language learners that stay very long. So our environmental score, we're higher than the averages, and that's due to obviously the scoring of the vote last year is bringing us up a little bit. I pulled out the stress scores of our county, and we're kind of right in the middle. We have no stress score, and 3 of the other districts have no, 4 of them have none. A few of them are popping the 6.7. That is one score on one indicator. Fulton is our outlier. They're kind of having a bad set of time frame right now. And you can see the prior year and the year prior to that. So fiscally, as far as the stress scores go, we stand pretty good. I did look, the comptroller came out with when these went in the paper, I think it was last month, he basically said that only a total of 31 school districts, 4.6%, scored and were designated in fiscal stress, and it's up from 22 districts the year before, 3.3%. And he thinks that it's because of falling into the wake of the COVID pandemic that the number of districts designated fiscal stress because of fund balance usage is going to increase to slowly get us adjusted to the end of the pandemic funding. And that's exactly what's happening with most districts. Any questions on that? I just wanted to review the property tax cap quick before we look at the budget presentation. This came into effect, the cap is used to limit the amount of the levy that a school district can set across the district. It's not about the assessed value and it's not about the tax rate. So it's only about the levy, the piece that we set. I keep this in here even because it's old, but I like the percentages. I think it's interesting. This is the entire state, the way school districts receive funding. And interesting that state aid is 36% and property taxes is 54%, because we're the exact opposite of that. Our funding is dependent on the state aid versus, so we're not like the good majority of the state. This is the calculation, and these are the components involved. I obviously won't go through it, but this is why I feel like it's a total misrepresentation when people say it's a 2% tax cap. If you look at the way this is calculated, can I do my little thing? There's a number right here. Allowable levy growth factor can go up to 2%. That's the only part that has the 2% across this entire calculation. So that is just totally misrepresented when it comes to how these are calculated. This year, our tax cap, I won't go through the calculation, but we get a growth factor put in there, pilots are put in there, and the big pieces is the capital tax levy exclusions and the add-ons, which is essentially our capital projects and our debt. So when you go through and you add in your projects versus the debt, it goes in and out, and we're starting to come to even because most of our building project is done, and our finals have been submitted. So our building aid is starting to match our debt. So that being said, our maximum allowable is 2.99%. So what does that mean for our residents and our people? The 2.99% would be the levy increase, which is the piece that the school district has control of, which is the blue. The town assessors, and we have 11 townships that we tax across, are in charge of the assessments, and then New York State is in charge of the equalization rates, and each town has its own equalization rate. So when we look at this right now, on the left-hand side over here, we estimate, what's it, March. I make this estimate based on the assessment being the same as it is right now and the equalization rates being the same right now. Over here, when we actually levy the taxes in August and the other two factors are updated, we consistently are a lot lower. Some of it is absorbed by increases in the assessed values over time and the equalization rates changing accordingly. So right now, if we're looking at the 2.99%, it gives us a 12.98 based off of our rate right now is at 12.6. So what that basically means is 38 cents per thousand. So on a $100,000 home, $38 would be the increase at 2.99. This comes from our forecast 5. Central Square is the second column right here. I'm going too fast. So we're about half of what the others are. So we're right here, and this is our county. So some levies are lower, some much higher. Fulton and Phoenix are way up there, and then APW and Sandy Creek are down, but they're also so much smaller than we are. So we kind of hang right with Central Square, Hannibal, Mexico. We're kind of in the mix between the rest of the county. And this is our tax rate every year. We've definitely lost ground on the rate with not going to the cap for the last 4 years now, I think it is. So that's kind of what happens. When you don't go to the cap, your rate doesn't stay level, so to speak. And we're losing rate as we go forward. Does anybody have any questions on property tax cap? The only thing we have at our disposal at all would be if we want to go over the cap, we have to get a 60% voter approval, and very few districts do that across the state. And the ones that do actually don't have a good percentage of passing. All right. Our budget proposals. We are looking at potentially a budget of 106 million and change. It is a I keep pushing the wrong button. It's a 3.28% increase over the 102. This is the budget year we're in right now. And again, state aid is our big driver. And as you can see, the state aid, it's actually enough to change the percentage with how small our package is this year as far as our state aid money. And the tax levy is staying essentially the same, and we are going to designate some fund balance to help make up some of the difference. So our state aid, all of our budget is detailed here. State aid is about $63 million. Our miscellaneous is about $6 million, appropriated $3 million, and the tax levy here at 2.99 for $34 million. It's a $106 million and change budget. On the expenditure side, we have to present balancing budgets. We have it shown in the 6 categories that we generally deal with, the salary and fringe benefits being the bulk of our budget. About 8% of our budget is with BOCE services. Debt service is a small percentage, and our other, and our fuel and utilities are also small. And these are the details of that budget, and the detail of these expenditures is available online. It's on the web if people want to look at it, the details of them. So as we were saying, the salary and benefits makes up 72% of the entire budget. So I try to go through these quick and just show you it's staff and benefit. And we have a lot of staff. I feel like because have a small feel to us, and because the elementaries, feel small, people don't realize just how big we are and how much staff we have. So this is just the elementary staff, classroom teachers, UPK, special ed overlays that, AAS and curriculum consultants overlay that. At the middle school and the high school, this is the staff that we have there. And on the special ed overlays at the elementary, middle school, and the high school, between the teachers, the Bridges program, and we have speech, OT, and psychs. And then now we have mental health that also overlays over all the elementary, middle school, and high school, with the counselors, the social workers, and the social worker assistants. So our total teaching staff that's inside that contract is right now at 332.5 positions. Our teaching assistants, this one is goes up and down every board meeting. You see them on your personnel pages. But we currently, when I did this last, it's changing tonight in the board packet. We have 126, and the bulk of those are special ed. We have very few building TAs, and then we have a set of them that are at the UPK level, and that's required. We have one at the health office, at the middle school and the high school, and some of our 12-month SysOps are TAs. So they kind of move out of the other positions and move into.
And Maureen, I think it's important that people understand that we've had months where we've had 8 students transfer in, all of which had IEPs that required a 1-to-1 by law. So we had to have 8 teaching assistants right then and there.
And that's what you see every month when you get on the personnel pages that you are looking at to approve. It's basically kids coming and going. It's what's driving it. This is our buildings and grounds units. We have 47 custodial staff, 6 grounds, and 5 maintenance. The grounds and the maintenance workers are across the entire district. Our building clerical, we have district office clerical, transportation. That number changes too. It goes up and down monthly, but it usually ranges around 90. Our non-instructional supervisors is a small unit that has supervisory, that would be your food service director, your facilities director, technology people are in there. And then we have nurses and monitors across the district. And these up on the right is the individual contracts, and then down here are the admin. Of that, this 12 positions are supported by grants, and the rest of the positions are in the general fund budget. So what we're doing to get into the budget that we're proposing to bring to you tonight, our plan is to keep the programs in place. We are not adding anything, and we're just trying to maintain the progress that we've had. This is going to be tough, given that there's such a small increase in state aid. So the budget increase is small. We're doing that by adding some reserves and some use of revenues, and with some declining and eliminations based on basically enrollments. We're following our enrollment projection too. So hopefully not hurting program and courses, but trying to follow the numbers, so to speak. So it's a budget increase of 3.28 with a tax levy increase of 2.99. We're gonna use interfund transfer from debt service to 790,000. Health insurance, this is the end of it, 156,341. That's why it's such a funky number, because that's all that's left. And use of reserves. So these, again, are one-shots. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, trying to get us past the state aid issues, but that doesn't seem to be changing. So when you're looking at the budget, I just want to be clear about where these different things stand out. So these are the one-shots that are here, here, and here. And then this is the 3.28%, which is the budget increase.
Yeah, Maureen, it's really kind of concerning that we've got to go back into the reserves one more year.
Yep.
I mean, I talked about it earlier that I'm not comfortable with that, in that at some point, the day of reckoning's coming, and then if you look at your slide from the previous presentation, where our reserve funds is not really at par with other schools, you know, if it's to build a budget and you don't think that we're going to actually use it, that's one thing. But if
It's half and half. You hope that you build enough, what do you want to say, cushion in the budget. And like I always say, I stand up here, you like to have 2% in the revenue, 2% in the expenditures. And 4% is not a lot, even though it's big numbers in terms of, you know, millions. But it's not, when you think about it, like if you think, you know, something was going to be $1 and it's $1.02, you don't think about it, but it's just 2% more, you know. So, yeah, it's concerning. We also are trying to decrease some of the expenditures. Let me show you that first, to try to push some of it together on the revenue and the expenditure side. Again, a tax levy of 299, which that's obviously much lower than it's been the last few years, now that the capital projects have come on. This I put in here again, just what the 299 represents. If people are looking at these slides separately, or, so it's basically $38 per 100,000 of assessment. This is our enrollment decline. This is without UPK, so it's a little bit smaller than the numbers that we normally say out loud, you know, but and with the live birth data that currently exists, they will go out to the 4 years. And we are still considering, are supposed to decline, depending on what and when Micron happens. Right now, based on birth rates in our school district, there isn't going to be any increase. So we've made, the administration, everybody worked really hard to come up with reductions that really don't impact programming, but follow the declining enrollments. And this is also in there, the eliminations of some positions, out 2 elementary, 2 at TA level, 2 middle school, 2 high school, and a special ed position. That's part of why, between some of these changes and the, we got quite a few retirees this year. That's helping us be able to have a budget that's only going up 3.38%, because obviously we have to like push that at some point.
Yeah, and to me, it doesn't help that you've eliminated 9 positions, but still have to take almost $3 million out of reserves. So that,
Yeah, between state aid, what was it? It's going up, foundation aid is going up $400,000. I mean, it's not.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, and that even if we got to 2%, right? So let's say we all said a little prayer, and we got 2%, we're still not making up that.
No.
That $3 million.
That's why, we continue to try to, put cost savings measures in. But at this point, we're trying to, I guess, we're supplementing it, wanting to use our rainy day funds before we really impact the programming. It's
Maureen, did I read that
basically
right,
where we
that
are.
BOCES is going up 13%?
Yes, but that's not, you have to be very careful of that. It is, but a lot of that is on us. We are starting to send a lot more students to BOCES, because we are, I don't say pushing that, but that's,
we
that's a
encourage
big
it.
thing. So we
Sure.
encourage it. So there's a lot more students going to BOCES. There's kids in P-TECH now that didn't used to be. We have kids in synergy programs that are virtual programs that didn't used to be. There's just a lot more things going there. So the actual administrative budget, I think, was going up 3 point something.
Yeah.
That we saw the presentation from Jeremy. So, but a lot of our increase is due to our use.
We're seeing more intense behavioral issues that we cannot house that in a traditional school setting. BOCES has a slew of staff members and behavioral supports that it would cost a component district $1 million to run a program like that. However, it's very expensive, and you get aid on it when you're sending, BOCES, but you got to come up with the bill that first. But we're seeing more students with these extreme behaviors than we've seen in a long time, and they're in BOCES programs.
I guess my concern with that is we're increasing 3% with our budget, but one of the big line items is going up 13% that we have to pay out. So we have to make up for that someplace else.
Yep. And that's where we're making, if you go back to the biggest cost drivers on the expenditure side are the positions. Because that includes benefits too. These are smaller, some of these BOCES changes. We're just getting rid of some of the software that we use. Forecast 5, so we won't have any nice graphs anymore going forward. And our instructional specialists, we're adjusting the time down a little bit that we need them. We are going to, there's some clubs that have low participation, so we are no longer going to do paid advisors for them. It doesn't mean that the clubs can't exist, but the advisors won't be paid positions by us. Athletics at this point, some of these are numbers, so they're not necessarily set in stone, but the AD feels that the modified soccer numbers aren't going to be there, so we might get a position there. And the last time we spoke to Mark Woods about the music, the numbers he had, we were looking at combining the JV and the varsity winter guards and the middle school and the high school drum lines. Again, these are some things that we'll have to keep assessing as time goes by and the numbers come in.
Because the numbers weren't accurate. So the numbers for combining and it's important to say before we get 100 phone calls, that we hit pause on combining the drum line because the original numbers we got were in the 20s, not 63, if you combine them two together. You can't have 63 kids in the gym doing combined drum line, so we're still looking at that.
I should go back, but one of the elementary positions and one of the TA positions that we are, quote, saying that we're saving or reducing are actually due to Aaron's changing the UPK grant, which that's another presentation for another time. But those two positions will move over there and be supported by the grant. And the bulk of the UPK, we're looking at having full day. So we are going to be, that eliminates the UPK midday run. So that's a nice reduction there. And we're proposing that we don't supply district portion of overnight field trips, that we don't pay for it. So we analyzed the field trips a year ago. Out of the, I think there was like 23 overnight trips. The bulk of them used coach busing, but there was about 8 of them that used the district busing. So that we would ask that they pay for the busing, even if they use the district. And then we're looking at having 3 special patrols officers across the 4 elementary.
We have
Again,
one that's retiring at the end of this year.
Again, it's coming with
At the elementary.
reduction or, yeah. So everything is due to declining enrollment. We're trying to follow all the numbers and make our savings where we can without totally touching the programs. So this is kind of our last spots that we went. So we're still hoping future, I mean, we're gonna have to continue to do capital projects. 2027 should be our next project. We still look at and bounce around long-term plans for CSI. That's always out there. And then the biggie is Micron. I mean, if Micron goes the way it's supposed to go and we double in student population, that totally changes the game. So,
I guess, to piggyback on what Steve was saying,
yeah,
and thank you, Maureen, you do everything you can to try to bring these numbers together with, the pennies that the state is giving us. And so just to clarify, the 400 was for foundation aid, that was based on the 1%?
Yes.
And so that possibly could double. We're not talking about millions of dollars, but that could, is that not, we're not getting 2% potentially anymore?
I haven't heard much of anything. Have you, Tom? No.
Okay.
I mean, they're really not saying, I can't believe how quiet the whole thing has been. Yes, it's, been a crazy election year.
And so was that like last year, the 2% was a safe harbor? Is 1% the safe harbor this year, or did we actually get 1%?
I don't know. So this is it right here. So
Yeah.
this 400,000 is the
Right.
1%. So it would be another 400,000 if it went up to 2%, which obviously
Would be great, but
would
it's
be
still not
great,
saving
but
us anything.
We would, we'd put it right here and hopefully not use this 400,000. It's not that significant that it's gonna change anything big. Our actual total state aid package is going up 2.36% because of the expense-based aids that are driving.
Yeah, the
you know,
BOCES aid and-
You're right. It all drives, the more you spend, the more you get, but you gotta remember, you're spending it to get it.
Yeah, you're still spending a
You're still
percentage out
spending
of the
it,
budget.
right,
So,
exactly.
and I guess, so based on your last slide about, well, if Micron happens as, as it's supposed to, and we get all the extra students, it changes the game, but we're at least 5 years out from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to piggyback on what Steve said, it's concerning because, it's one last shot, one-time things from the reserves, but we've got to bridge at least 5 years, and that's if the benefit, that's if that actually occurs as we hope it does. Going forward, again, I share the same concerns. When I started on the board, when Steve and I started on the board, you always had the 3 million out of the reserves. It was always there, but when you
No,
looked
always-
at,
yeah, it
when you
didn't
looked
get
at the
touched.
budget versus the
Yep.
actual was almost always zero
Yep.
for what you actually used from reserves, and that's changed
That's
drastically.
changing, yes.
And so, I guess that just want to,
Yeah.
big concern there.
Yeah, huge concern, absolutely. So that's where, where do you call it on your rainy day, so to speak? You know what I mean? Do you use it all up? When do you go half and half, keep going a few years in hopes that, and I mean, we're not the only ones. Everybody's becoming, in this situation. I think I heard FM, he said, like, this is not sustainable. We've never put this type of fund balance towards it, and it's, it's the
Rely
same
very
everywhere.
little, minuscule amount on state aid, but with the cap,
It does.
Right.
But it's also a misnomer because we get the onboard, right, the newspaper being on the school board, and on the cover, it was 2 months ago, it had, the state education budget increased 3.5%. And I even had people that came to my house and saw it on the counter, were like, oh, that must make you happy, that's much better than the 2% you got last year. I was like, no, actually, we are only getting 1.
Right.
I don't know where the other 3.5% increases are going, but,
Yeah, but I think, don't quote me on these numbers, but of the 700 districts, I think like 240 of them are on the safe harbor, which is the 1% this year. So, I mean, the bulk of a lot of the districts, they're all losing population, and that's one of the big drivers of the foundation aid formula.
and that's not going to stop happening with,
Not unless they change it, and obviously they keep changing little pieces of it, but I think they're gonna have to really revisit that whole pie of how they're gonna do it.
well, right, but if that's a third of the school districts of the state,
Yeah.
are getting 1%.
Yeah.
And
so-
and they're saying the biggest driver of that is because they're losing people. Well, how are you supposed to attract people when you're taking money from the education system?
and what they do is they come back and say that's your own fault for not taxing as high as the cap was. Although the fact that we went 2 straight years with a 0% tax increase, they almost look at us like we were stupid for doing that. When really we were doing that for the community, but they think that we left millions, and now the community is hurting because we left that money on the table.
Well, and to some extent, that's a fact, right? I mean, we knew that. It's a fact. We did leave money on the table, but the reasoning behind it, what we thought was, ethically and morally and
No, and I
everything else.
think at the time, I mean, everybody
Right.
we all had the COVID money.
Right.
So it wasn't like it was just a thought of here in this room. It was
Right.
kind of like the trend, like districts all act together in what they do and how they,
Right.
But I
think
do think
about
it's
these
important,
things.
though, Maureen, Because I know a lot of districts that they put out the referendum for a capital reserve, which means you have to put that out to the voters. We didn't feel comfortable to say, hey, we have great state aid that we're getting.
Yeah.
We have an abundance of money that we can put in unencumbered funds, right? Like, this is great. We didn't say, hey, we're going to pass the hat around and hit you up at the.
Right.
We went 2 straight years without doing it. But a lot of districts still went all the way to their cap.
Or
So-
at least half. I mean, yeah, anything. They got
or
something.
to their cap,
Yeah.
and they built up these reserves. So if we were in a different spot and we had 4 years to get to the big numbers of COVID, if we never did that, we'd be sitting like some of the smaller districts with $20 million in reserves saying, it's not a problem.
Right.
But we did it the right way.
Right.
And as a result of that,
The right way for our
For our
constituents.
community.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's part of why you are all here as board members, I mean.
But it's
the
also-
responsibility of the community, too.
It's still shocking that the 2/3 of the, I'm assuming that a third, again, you have the numbers, but a third of the districts are getting 2 or 3%. And these other districts that are getting
Yeah.
the high stuff to make it average out to 3.5, I mean,
Yeah, and a lot of that, though, the 3.5 is the expense-based aids. So like that, so if you look at we're at 2.38, when you count the whole package. That's the whole package. So you've got capital projects statewide in there, are driving up the building aid, depending on, yeah.
expense aid, they're like, well, but you're getting that. But yeah, but we have to
we have to buy it, we have to pay for that.
come up with it first,
And
right.
what are we paying for BOCES, 85%, 80%? What's our?
It's down to 76% is our,
So
yeah.
so 26 of every $100, or 724 of every $100 is coming out of that budget. It's not coming from the state. So-
Right.
Yeah, and we don't have control over that number. We don't have, it's always been my rub on this is that, the BOCES budget doesn't get voted on. They just hand us a bill, right? This is what we can do, this is what we can't do, and their overall support. And what really puts us behind is that you can't, out of the property tax levy, we can't tax our way out of the money that's required.
Right.
No.
Right, because we're not in the position, if it was flipped like everybody else, if,
Might be able to do that.
69% of our budget was tax levy, so we can go out and that will gain us up, but when it's only that amount, the raise of $4 million between, 23 and 27, right? It's not a lot of money. We could go 6 to 8%. I've run the numbers. I'm retired now. I've run the numbers. You're not
Yeah,
taxing.
you're not gonna get there.
You're not taxing
Right.
your way out of this
Right.
this dilemma.
No.
As a result of the state aid in relationship to our overall budget, only going up 1 or 2%. When everything else, I would love that buses are only going up 1%, fuel, healthcare costs, everything that's associated with the district. I said that before, your 2 presentations ago. I don't see a lot of 1s and 2s. I see a lot of 5s and 7s.
Right.
Well,
So-
anyone that goes to the
so
grocery
we're-
store.
Yeah, and to me, the telling sign is that you've cut 9 positions, and you still
Need more money.
need more money.
And it's the worst possible time. It's like the planets aligned in a bad way in the fact that we have record lows of numbers of students in our area in upstate New York, or in New York and the whole region, that are going to college to be teachers. We have far less people that want to go into administration, or definitely district office. And so you have districts right now, like us, that are in the negotiation times right now, that are trying to entice a very small candidate pool to come to their district. Because at the end of the day, what the parents want the most is when they say to their kids, hey, how was school today? Well, what's that? Is my son learning? Is my daughter learning? Are they reading on grade level at the end of 3rd grade? Because they're 4 times less likely to graduate from college if they're not, at another 9 times if they come from poverty. That's what they want. They want the best teachers. They want the best administrators that are hiring the best teachers that are handling situations. And we're all fighting for the same small candidate pool. When I started as a teacher, ask Aaron, we were in the same pool coming out of college. There would be 175 to 200 applicants for 2 positions, and you fought like hell. You were in a suit. You were ready to go. Like, you knew what you volunteered for every committee, knowing you weren't getting paid for it. Now it's flip-flopped. Teachers are working harder than they ever have because they've got the gaps between the struggling students and the higher level students like a Grand Canyon. Teachers are expected to literally plan 10 lessons for 1 lesson because that's how differentiated they need to do. They're working harder than ever. and the state's giving us far less to be able to compensate. So we're going to get through it. I'm confident we're going to get through it. I am confident too that the Micron numbers will come, but we just have about 4 or 5 years to really have some difficult decisions before that.
Well, to your point, Tom, if the numbers hopefully do come and we do see a rise with the children, we still have the limited applicant pool that we want to attract. So, yeah.
Questions?
I always say,
I
no,
love
I
being
need
up here.
solutions.
It's just such great news all the time.
I don't want people to think it's doom and gloom. Like, we're still sending the same numbers of those kids to BOCES. When you see them get off the bus, they're super excited. Heavy equipment, nursing, it's amazing programs, cosmetology. Like, these kids, they don't realize what we're going through. And they're getting a top-class education. They've got a well-rounded, I mean, looking at the opportunities that our students have, they're involved in many things, in DECA. And so, yes, we've been through times like this. We'll continue to readjust and how we're doing certain things so that the most important, the students, are having least impact.
No, and I think that, if all you have to do is look at the test numbers from last year. I mean, when we scored the best out of the other 9, out of the 9 component districts within, what we have, we're doing very well as a district. And it's just, you just wish the state would support it a little bit more. Because it's our tax dollars too. I mean, I don't know.
And that's why we really don't want to touch the programming because it's working right now.
Right, it's working.
It's working, so we want to keep it. And
Yep.
So we're just
Okay.
gonna try to keep going. Yep.
Okay, on to item E. Can I get a motion for item E in its entirety?
I'll motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, on to item F, consent agenda. Could I get a motion to accept that in its entirety?
I'll motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, on to item G. We'll start with, start with student board member report.
All right. First of all, DECA States competition was held in Rochester from March 4th to March 6th. Central Square had 14 students in attendance, 5 top 10 placements, and 3 top 7 placements that have the opportunity to compete at the international level in Atlanta, Georgia at the end of April. And spring sports started yesterday, and we had some start today because we didn't have school yesterday. The theater program and student government members have the opportunity to go on a trip to New York City April 8th through 9th to see Broadway shows and participate in workshops, which is really great for them. And this past weekend, Aubrey Green, Paige Ryder, and Cadence Williams competed at the Indoor Track and Field State Championship. Each girl placed in the top 10 for their individual event. And lastly, the theater program starts previews of the show Les Mis tomorrow, second block, and full showings will be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night of this week. That's all I have.
Okay, board members report. Anybody have anything they'd like to talk about?
I do.
Go ahead.
I went to the drumline show on Saturday, and it was very, very nice, very well run. The music boosters always do a great job. Lots of people, lots of raffles, and so it was very good. Aaron and Kristen were there, so yeah, it was very nice.
Okay, and I know you all check your email every day, a couple times a day, but I did send out, there's big changes coming. New York Inspires is starting to get implemented. So I took a couple presentations and condensed it down to like what you can expect as, what the board's role and responsibilities are going to be and what what the administration's going to have to deal with that, but that's a really big thing that's coming down the pike. So I just thought I can kind of condense it down, take a look at it, and see if you got any questions. But I'm really excited about it. I think a lot of it is really what we've been doing all along, pathways, and now we can really start applying new ideas and new theories that goes. I had a pleasure riding 24 hours in a truck 2 weekends ago with a retired elementary school teacher who I have the fondest admiration for. And her biggest thing was the model that we've been doing really needs to change. It really does. She goes, it doesn't think that it's going to work anymore. So with that, hopefully the state will get behind it with both policy and money.
Is it too early to know how well we're positioned as a district to align with what's coming?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm looking.
Yeah, well,
How well we're positioned to be aligned as a district with what's coming with the changes as far as pathways for students and what it should look like going forward?
So we are already kind of ahead of some other people. We currently are scheduling and some of the changes that we're making and the pathways that we have for kids. Yes, there's going to be more pathways, but we've started it, so we've kind of worked out the kinks, but we are. Yeah, we already, the seal of biliteracy, the seal of civic readiness, the music, we just started this one, the IAAP. But the way that, so each level is kind of different. So the elementary, the way we schedule, share kids, team, all of that totally aligns with this.
Okay.
Middle school's teaming, the shifts that are being made at 6th grade totally aligns with this. And then all the work that we're doing with the tech side of things is going to be the other kind of pathways, and that's continuing that work. So once we know more from the state about it, like there's still some things that, there's only certain parts of it that are out, like it's a phased-in approach. But we are aligned and
They were saying
on
like,
the way to move.
internship, job shadowing, college career.
Right.
We've been doing that already here as a
Right.
course. So in so many ways, we're so much further ahead. We've been doing a lot of the things that they've been saying. They're calling it a portrait of a so they're calling it a portrait of a graduate. We've been calling it the portrait of a Central Square graduate for the past 9 years. If you look at them, they align perfectly about well-roundedness. The number of students we send to BOE is 185. So it's like we can actually say we have these career pathways. We have districts in our county that don't have a business department, right? So, and we have the best business department and what they provide. So in so many ways, the alignment's already there.
Do we anticipate a large change as far as graduation requirements,
So.
or too early to tell?
Go ahead.
Well, right now, the credits are staying the same.
Okay.
So as the state is looking at changing some standards, the state's going to be prioritizing standards. So rather than all of these standards, they're going to like shrink them a little bit for us. But the credit piece, they have not totally came out and said, these are how many credits you're going to need to graduate. There still will be credits. One of them they do know is our kids in high school are going to be required to have a CTE credit, which they do not have right now. That's a different requirement. We've got some courses, or they don't necessarily have to be courses, but content that needs to be taught to kids. The financial literacy piece, which we all know that our kids that need that, right? Like that's a big thing. And then a climate course, so those are phased in. Next year, middle school and high school will have the I keep calling it personal finance, the financial literacy course. Elementary is gonna have to have that information taught to the kids in some shape between kindergarten and 5th grade. We kind of know the topics, but we don't have the standard yet. So once we have all of that, and then the following year, when elementary is bringing in the financial literacy, the climate course will be in middle school and high school, and then the following year after that will be elementary. So, so there's still information to come to us that we need to implement and make changes on. But for the part that's out right now, that has been approved and is moved, we're in a good shape. We're in good shape. And our teachers, we just did it yesterday, the teachers at every level very, they were excited about it. They had time to work and, come up with some real life, like, what does this mean for me, right? Like, as a student, why do I need to learn this, right? Like, I think our kids have all said that. Why do I need to learn this? I mean, I still say that about algebra, but so how do you bring that to kids so that they want to be here and they want to go to that class? So that's kind of the shift that's coming. But it takes time and, really kind of thinking differently. How can you find people out there, those community partners that can come in and make it real for the kids? Like, wow, this is really a job, right? Like, I could do this for a career. But the teachers at all different levels, we broke up and they were all very receptive to it and excited about what can, where we can go now. Like, our hands aren't as tied in some places to, you have to do this or you have to do that, right? So, and once both the federal government and the state government get on the same page, then even better. When things are decoupled, we can sunset things.
Understood. Thank you.
Unburdened.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that. It was a great impromptu status of how things are going. I'm excited about it. Anytime you have an opportunity to kind of clear the slate and come up with your own ideas, I have a bigger confidence in the 328 people that work here to come up with what a Central Square student should have when they walk across to get their graduation certificate than anybody in the federal or state government. Personal thing, and I'll stop with that.
If I just, Tom, I think it's important too, because when we went through that process, we sought input from all the stakeholders for the portrait of a Central Square graduate, right? And it was funny because it was like 2 or 3 or 4 years later that New York put out their portrait of a graduate, and it literally looked like they copied it from our website. And so that
was 7 years ago.
that just goes to show, like, we didn't have that guidance. Now all the other districts have similar things too, and some of them probably were doing what we were doing before, but it just goes to show that the community, the students, the administrators, the teachers here already knew that. We didn't need the state to tell us that. In fact, we knew it better than the state did, and so it's frustrating that it's constant. It seems like, we if they would just give us the money and the latitude to do what we need to do, we would be getting it done at a
That's the thing.
much faster pace than.
If you have kids that struggle in integrated algebra because they can't get it in a book in math class, if part of that math can be taught when they're in residential structures and they're doing slope for a roof of a shed they're building, that's the way, that's reimagining how to do it. And it's bringing back the excitement, and that's what the teachers are excited about. They're not handcuffed to very rigid Regents requirements. It's reimagining. There'll still be Regents courses if students, for the more, rigorous course opportunities, of course, but it's not going to prevent kids because they struggle taking a test.
Right.
Yep.
Yes, you're up next.
Just a great little announcement. Baskell has always paid for anything that comes with overtime because Baskell is before and after school daycare program. They're now in all of our buildings. They were, YMCA was in Brewerton for the longest time. It's Baskell across the board, and it's been good. However, we had to shut down Baskell in the summer after August 14 to make the rooms weren't getting clean the way that they needed to get clean. Staffing is becoming an issue for Baskell. However, we're able to pick that up so there's no break. So starting on the Monday, the 17th of August, they'll be operating out of CSI, paying the full cost for 100% of the overtime pay for us to be able to have a custodian down there. None of it will fall on the district. Baskell pays 100% of that, which is great. It's a win-win. There were a lot of frustrated moms that called me up, and we were able to come to a good agreement with Baskell. So that's good. The other thing is Winter Guard was amazing. Not this Saturday before. We hadn't had a board meeting in a while, but they have 42 schools, which was a record. It was long. I mean, I didn't even get for the first 2 hours, but it was 6 hours. It was so impressive, and the families come out, and you couldn't have Winter Guard Drumline without all those parent volunteers that are running around doing all the things, selling the food, rolling out that special carpet, the whole 9 yards. So hats off to them. Our Winter Guard traveled to Corning Peyton Post High School to compete in the Winter Guard International Corning Regional. They competed against 7 other guards from New York and Pennsylvania, and they finished first place and became the regional champions for their class, and 5 out of the 7 competing were high school guards. Our guard consisted of many students. This will be posted for the sake of time. If I said all of them, I've got 150 students to name here. Thankfully, Emma said the students from DECA, so she took care of that part for me. Overall, we had a great sports season. Drawing a blank, bowling. With our unified bowling, drawing a blank. Unified bowling, it was great. If anybody isn't familiar, the last thing I'll say is unified sports are where you have the gen ed students with some high needs special education students, and it's amazing to see what they get out of that. But what's also great is for the parents that have children with that have very challenging special ed needs, to be able to see them on a team, to be able to be out there like any other kid. It's a wonderful thing, and for me, that really means a lot to see that. It's a great community. Again, I can't believe it. And I was just talking with our student board rep. Spring is here, and before you know it, we're going to be shaking hands at graduation. It's been a long year, winter-wise. The weather, we still, knock on wood. No, I'm not even going to say it. I was going to say how many we have left, but we're in good shape. So that concludes the report.
Okay, thanks, Tom. I am going to make a motion that the Central Square School District Board of Education hereby approves the library proposition resolution. Got to get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I kind of figured that's why I made it.
I understand. I understand that we have no control over the monies that they are asking for, but in my 26 years on the board, not once has that library committee come in and explain what's happening at the library, what they're doing, what grants they're applying for, how many people come in and use the facilities and that kind of thing. And I have no problem approving this, but I think since we are putting this out on our budget vote with a separate referendum, I really think for the, they need to come in and talk to us.
And I think it's important. You bring up a good point. I don't want anybody in the community to go, wait a minute, 4 out of the past 5 years, there's been a library vote. Why did the board can't prevent any of that from going on. So even if the board did, it's an automatic. So when the local libraries say that they're going to be asking for taxes, the board doesn't have the authority to say no. So I don't want you guys have to take enough on the chin. I don't want you to think, I don't want people in the community to think, why didn't they say no this time? For the past 3 years, you don't have the ability, no one has the authority to be able to say no to it. And I'm not saying that to downplay.
Right.
There's just been people asking, going, well, that's like 3 years in a row. I just don't want anybody to think that the board, by approving this, is approving whether they agree with it or not. It's just the board doesn't have a say. It has to go on when they ask for it. Yeah.
So the voters can say no.
Correct.
And the library could ask for less. Right. But we can't eliminate their vote during the time of budget.
They just use our ballot, essentially. And so, and by using our ballot, we have to vote to include it on there, but we don't have any discretion as to whether it gets included, how much it's for, any oversight of it, nothing.
That's correct.
Okay, this is a roll call vote, so we'll start. Pearl?
All right, Steve Patch,
Yes.
Kirsty Fishman. Yes. Allison Douglas. Yes. Brian Lucas. Yes. Brian Mulder. Yes. Casey Maury. Ken Sherman. And Molly Wood. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve H2?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. I will make a motion that the Central Square Central School District Board of Education hereby move into executive session to discuss matters leading to the employment of two particular people for tenure with no action to follow.
No, it's just one.
Oh, just one? Just one person. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?